So basically, this session today, the soul triangle, I thought it would be interesting for us just to explore really what goes on within the soul. What is the track within which our thoughts follow and come back to us, because often people have the complaint, that I've got too many thoughts and I don't know where they're coming from, I don't know what to do with them. And somehow we can sometimes feel overwhelmed by that, or sometimes it's very difficult to make decisions. Sometimes we wonder why something keeps coming up for us, you know. And so it might be interesting just to go over some of the ideas that form the foundation of the understanding of what goes on within our consciousness based on the study of Raj Yoga as taught by the Brahma Kumaris. And so I have a slide to share with you. And okay, so I hope you can see that. I'm going to. Okay. Here we go. Okay, there we go. So just as a reminder, really, I think, and images are always useful to help understand something, or to help us remember something. So basically here what we're looking at is the self, the inner qualities, the innate qualities of the self, which is the soul or the spirit. And these qualities, the beautiful colors inside are really the main qualities that, like the main elements of the soul, of the self. And of course, one of the main practices within meditation is to come inside and experience this. So when we say inside, maybe this image helps a little bit. So crossing the boundaries of the awareness of the external personality, which includes our roles and relationships, our routine, our responsibility, also our past, our story, our body, our health, our wealth, our culture and religion. So all of that comes within this layer, if you like, of external personality. So it's part of our journey, it's part of our story, the external personality, but it's not everything, and it's not the origin. And this has been something that's been really important for me, and I think for anyone that practices this particular study and meditation, is to recognize the self, to recognize that in fact who I am is a being of consciousness, a being of peace, love, purity, power, and bliss. And this is my original and my, in a sense, eternal nature. What happens, of course, is that when the energy, when the battery is low, when I'm not able to express who I am as I am, when the external personality kind of takes over, and that peace becomes distorted, or the love becomes distorted in the expression and also in the experience, that's when we experience suffering, and we experience this desperate need to come back to ourselves. And so, of course, when we're fully aware of ourselves and fully in our power, then this condition of peace that is our innate quality, we're able to express that through our external personality and through our through our roles and relationships, through our body, through our expression. But not only that, we're also able to, in a sense, receive peace and love and bliss. We're able to notice it and appreciate it, and to fill ourselves with that from, first of all, the source, the supreme source, but also we can perceive that spiritual awareness of another soul, another person, another being. And so we're able to notice their peace, whatever is the influence of their external personality. So someone might be very much under the influence of their roles and responsibilities and routines and consciousness of the body, in a sense. But when we are in the awareness of who we are, we will be able to see their qualities. And of course, that makes such a big difference in our attitude, in our ability to connect with each other. So the whole purpose of meditation, and one of the main practices, is exactly this: to come back in, to come back home, come back to the self. And the awareness is that, in fact, I am the one who feels, I am the one who thinks, I am the one that decides and expresses and experiences. So this is just like the sort of main reminder, in a sense, of what all of this is about. And so now we come to the soul triangle. So here we have here. Okay, so here we have the faculties of the soul. So, and this is the triangle of the mind, the intellect, and the sanskaras. And we look at each of these three, and maybe, again, it might be familiar to you, and I hope it's a nice refresher, but it probably will be familiar. But anyway, it's useful. I always find it useful to look at it again and become aware and see just how amazing it is to be able to see how it works and also change something by observing and by understanding what's actually going on. And so here we're looking at this tiny point of consciousness. It's like we're looking at it under a magnifying glass, So we're seeing how, in fact, really what is that self is the star in the middle, And so it's the self, the consciousness that has a faculty of the mind, that has the faculty of the intellect, that has a set of sanskars. So in a sense, it's not like our mind is this big or our intellect is that big, But in fact, it's like a function of the self. So my ability to think, to remember, to feel, to imagine is called the mind. And so we know that actually the power of our mind is immense. And it is, I think you can say, unlimited, in the sense that if I, the soul, if I, the self, am strong, then I'm able to use my mind in a particular way that I decide that I want to think about something, and my mind, in a sense, cooperates, and the thought arises without any disturbance. And so that's why we say, oh, I have a clear mind today. I'm able to observe it. I'm able to think clearly. I'm able to feel and know what I'm feeling. I'm able to see things and remember something that I wanted to think about, or I'm able to create images in a way that is very clear. And so not just that, but we also use our mind in a sense which happens naturally but it's like the ripples of our vibrations, because the thoughts and feelings create vibrations, like little ripples into the atmosphere, into the environment around us. And so whatever I'm thinking, especially if it's a powerful thought, so powerfully positive or powerfully negative, then that thought will have a very big impact on, first of all, my body. That's the first point of impact, but not just my body, on my relationships. So whatever I'm connected to, whoever I'm connected to, and especially whoever those thoughts are being directed towards. So I may not be consciously directing those thoughts, but if I'm thinking about someone or something, some issue, some future event, or something that I have to do, then it's like I'm directing my energy towards that. So all of this is the expression of our energy, our thoughts, our feelings, our images and memories that we have within the mind. So it's amazing to be aware of this incredibly powerful tool that we have, that we can choose. And since we say this is my mind, so this is, if you like, a capacity that belongs to me, then I need to be able to manage it how I want. And so I don't want to be a slave to something that I've programmed, or that someone's programmed for me maybe a long time ago. This is what happens. We see that in artificial intelligence, is that, or the Frankenstein monster, that something was created a long time ago, something was programmed, a computer was programmed a long time ago, and then it suddenly goes out of control and takes over. And so this is the AI, artificial intelligence, of how maybe we have a certain belief, and that rules the mind, that rules what I'm thinking about, the quality of my thoughts, what I'm remembering, what I'm focusing on. And so we need to, in a sense, reprogram our mind to be able to, or retrain our mind very simply, to think what I'm choosing to think, to become more and more aware of what's going on. So to be able to choose, check, and change, basically, or check, choose, and change, maybe is better. And then we have the second faculty and capacity, which is maybe even more amazing, and that is the intellect. And so the intellect is like that ability to see clearly, actually. And so the intellect will even see what's going on in the mind. So I, the soul, so remembering that all of these are my capacities. So I use the intellect to notice what's going on in my mind, and to actually decide what I want, use my willpower to transform that. Use my ability of the intellect to retrain the mind. And so we need to have in a sense, our attitude towards our own mind actually needs to be very kind. We need to not tell the mind off all the time. You're having too many thoughts and you can't sit still, I can't concentrate, you're no good. So all of this self-talk is actually very, in a sense, depleting the energy of the mind. So we're not able to use that capacity very well. So we need to be able to use the intellect to actually retrain the mind. So within the intellect, we have that capacity to, in a sense, to know intuitively. And that's the conscience is within the intellect. So the conscience is like this incredible diamond, where we're able to just absolutely perceive the truth about something. We're able to know what's needed. We're able to know when and where and how and what. If yes and if no. And so the more the intellect is strong and powerful, the more we empower our intellect, the more these functions will become available to us. And so, in fact, in meditation, what we're doing is we're actually reinforcing the intellect. So we're and how we're doing that is by, first of all, reducing the number of thoughts, increasing the quality of our thoughts. We're aiming to become, basically practice a stability of our intellect so that we're able to draw the energy from the inner qualities, so that we're able to, in a sense, allow the energy of peace, of power, of purity to come into the intellect, to flood the intellect, so that our abilities become activated. Of course, within meditation, there is also the connection with the Supreme, and that is very much a second step, in a sense, to be able to, especially to empower the intellect. And then we have the third circle here, which is what we call the sanskara. And this is a Hindi Sanskrit word, which basically means our impressions. So the personality traits, the characteristics, the tendencies that we develop, and we have also naturally. So we have certain sanskar, certain personality traits that belong to our original innate qualities of peace and love and so on. So we each have the sanskars of peace within us, the sanskars of purity. But then remember that there's also the external personality. And so we have sanskars, impressions, personality traits, tendencies that belong to the external personality. And so those are developed maybe in our childhood, maybe they are things that we bring with us, but they are often characteristics that we learn, that we, in a sense, develop, that become activated. So someone might have the sanskar of being very generous, for example, or being very open to different people and different ideas. So that sanskar, for example, might have been within their family. So maybe their parents were very open-minded and willing to look at and explore different ideas. And so this person developed that sanskar, so that personality trait. Now that might be connected with one of the original qualities of the self. So it might be connected with purity, with truth, with love. It might be connected with power. So a lot of our sanskars ideally are connected directly and have the same vibration, if you like, with our original qualities. But of course, what happens is that when the consciousness have become weak for whatever reason, then it's like the sanskaras of my external personality take over. And so I believe that I am this person who experienced, some problems in my life. I am the person who lost my job. I am the person who is not well. I am the person who, so we take on board that identity. And so we take on board our certain sanskars. So what's interesting though is to look at how this triangle works in a sense, you know, and so we might, what happens is that the thoughts arise in the mind, and there's also actually what's not written here is, in a sense, the subconscious mind. So within the mind there is the subconscious mind, and that is much more difficult to be aware of that. Sometimes when we've just woken up, or if we remember our dreams, then that is the subconscious mind, you know, and it's very useful and very interesting to notice what's going on there. But very often it's the gates are closed, you know, and so we have to rely on really just to notice what's going on in the background. Sometimes that state where we've just woken up, or early in the morning, certain thoughts and feelings and images come up, and that's like the subconscious mind that's still, you know, active. So so anyway, what we'll see now is how the thoughts, you know, the thoughts can arise either from our subconscious mind, or they can arise from an external stimuli. So it might be, for example, I pass by an ice cream shop, you know, and I think, oh yes, you know, I haven't yet had an ice cream this summer or this spring. And so the thought arises because I passed by the ice cream shop. You know? And but it's not just because of that. There was something else already, in a sense, an impression that was ready to be activated, and was that I was in that condition where my eyes maybe were drawn to the shop. And so I saw that, I saw it through my eyes, and the thought instantly arose in my mind, I would like to have an ice cream. You know, maybe some memories of last year or the last time come up from that same shop and the ice creams that they had, or another time. Maybe I remember when my brother came, when my friends came, and we went to this place, and we had this wonderful, so all the memories, maybe the feelings come up. Maybe I see myself enjoying an ice cream, you know. So all of this goes on instantly in our minds, you know, and it's incredible to observe that, you know. And so then what happens is that I have to decide now, am I going to have an ice cream or am I not? So this is where the intellect will step in, you know, and say, okay, well, hold on a second, I didn't bring any money with me, so I can't have an ice cream. Okay, no ice cream. Or yes, I do have money with me, but I don't have time. I need to get to this place. And so maybe there will be a little bit of a tussle. Well, it'll just be quick, you know, let's do it. And so the mind will, you know, will continue with its thoughts and memories and feelings, and the intellect will try to decide. So the clearer, the more powerful is the intellect, the quicker and the more easily it's able to decide. And so maybe I remember that, oh, I decided that I wasn't going to have an ice cream until, you know, maybe later on, because actually I'm, you know, my throat is still a little bit funny. And so I decided that. But, you know, on the other side, I would really like one. And so that's where the willpower comes in, where I have to weigh up, is it worth risking getting another bad throat or not? You know, so taking out the morality, and this is where the conscience comes in, is that very often the intellect is influenced by the voice of morality. You know, oh, you shouldn't have to have an ice cream is to be greedy, for example. Automatically, even if there's nothing to do with being greedy there. but automatically you might hear someone's voice in your head saying, no, it's not good to do that. You shouldn't indulge. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. So that is not the conscience. That's the in a sense, the infiltration of the voice of morality. So we want to be able to, in a sense, get rid of those voices. We want to recognize them and use our conscience to say, okay, hold on a second, what is actually more useful? What is more profitable for me in this moment? No. Taking into consideration the state of my body, the money in my pocket, the time I have, what I would like, what my heart is saying, and to weigh all of that up. Now, it doesn't take time. It takes a long time to talk about it, but it doesn't actually take very long, And sometimes we don't have the time, maybe if it's just me deciding whether I want to have an ice cream, it's one thing. But sometimes there are certain situations where in conversations or in certain more difficult situations where we don't have very much time to deliberate a long time over certain things. And so it's very useful to be able to immediately know that, yes, this is what I'm going to do. No, this is what I'm not going to do. And so that thought will go into the intellect. The intellect will decide yes or no. And whatever it decides, so this is now, we're going into this third arrow here. Whatever it decides, that will be the impression that's left on me, So when the impression is left one time, then it's quite easy to change, because the next time you say, okay, well, no, I don't want to do that. No. But once the impression, it's like a line is drawn over a line over another line, and that line becomes very dark and very thick, So it's more difficult to, in a sense, change that. So the sanskars are a little bit like habits as well. And so if I decide that, yes, I will have the ice cream, for example, then that will leave an impression on me. And so it might be a good experience. For example, I ate the ice cream, I enjoyed it, and in fact, my body accepted it and everything went well. It was something that I could afford, health, wealth wise, everything wise. It was a good idea. So that impression. Now, the next time I walk past that shop, the thought will most likely arise. It might just arise like a memory. Yes, yesterday that ice cream was really nice. Or the thought might arise, well, I would actually like another ice cream. And so the intellect again has to decide. And again, that will leave an impression. So that's like the triangle, in a sense, that continues. Now, what often happens then is that when a habit becomes very strong, then the thought that arises in the mind will actually bypass the intellect. It's like the decision is made. I take it for granted, the decision that it's yes. And so I go immediately into the action and the impression becomes stronger. And so it's like a game between the mind and the sanskar, just like a two-way. And so the triangle, in a sense, becomes distorted because the intellect is pushed out of the picture because it's weak, maybe, or it's not necessary to use it. So not all habits are negative habits. Some habits are really useful. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to deliberate. Once you decide it, that's it. Know that, for example, that certain routines that we have, we decided, and then maybe something happens and we have to say, oh, do I still want to do that? And then the intellect will come in. And we say, okay, well, do I or don't I? No, maybe not. Actually, I've done that for enough time and now I want to change. And so then what is it that I would like to change? And so then this is where we can choose, really, we can create this flow of what happens in the soul triangle. You know? And of course, it's when I, the soul, am able to continually feed my mind, my intellect, and my sanskars with the energy of the soul. So the energy of peace, love, purity, bliss, and power. That's when my experience of everyday things can be filled with that same energy. And so, of course, the meditation, in fact, is exactly for that, because the reality is that maybe we feel stressed, we feel anxious, worried, we feel sad, old things come up, take over, beliefs take over. And so sometimes it can feel like a very murky area, you know, inside, that we don't know what's going on, and we need to have a little bit of time in silence, a bit of time alone, time to let things settle, time to observe, to watch what's going on, time to be with ourselves, time to relax and refresh what's going on, you know, so that I can feed my mind and my intellect with the food that will make them strong. And then, in a sense, naturally, our sanskars, with the impression, will naturally become as are my inner qualities. You know? So the main focus of the meditation is our intellect, in a sense, and of course the quality of our thoughts. You know, so just looking at this side here, this column here, which basically is the similar thing, but looking at it in another way, is that my awareness leads to my thoughts, which lead to my decisions and my actions, and then the result. And then the result goes back into my awareness. And so it's an interesting reminder, maybe, and maybe it's something, I don't know, that feels something that you can relate to. And I don't know if you have any questions or anything you want to share about this, whether maybe you've used these ideas in your practice, in your meditation, you know, in just everyday life, and then we can have a meditation together. So any thoughts, any comments, feel free to open your mic or write in the chat, you know, as you wish. So, and let's see, does that make sense to you, to feel how the inner workings of the mind and the intellect and the sanskaras can, in a sense, shape our everyday experiences, really? So clear. Great. Thank you, Anna. Great. Well, maybe what we can do is I can read something. We have some time. I can read something, and from Dadi Janki's book, and it's called Self-Awareness, and then we can have a meditation together. And then after that, if you like to share anything, most welcome. So yes, we need to absorb, absolutely. I mean, this is why I find that these ideas are, in a sense, they're fairly easy to understand, but it's the actual practice that is very, very slippery. And this is where the power of silence comes in, and the practice, just the regular practice of meditation, where the first thing I do is to observe my thoughts, my feelings, to check how even my physical body is, how my sensations are, just to connect with what's going on for me. So yes, so the example of the ice cream is very suitable. Great. Yes, particularly at this time. But the thing is also to check and see, to notice how does that, what are certain tendencies that we have that maybe bother us, and it's useful to take one of those as an example. Some things can go very deep, actually. Some superficial actions have very, very deep roots, that are invisible to our conscious mind. So anyway, so this piece is called self-awareness. So a beautiful state of being is soul consciousness, where your whole sense of self is shifted from a physical identity to a spiritual one. In soul consciousness, you no longer feel yourself to be male or female, black or white. No worldly achievements form your self-esteem. Instead, self-esteem is shaped by a deep, abiding experience of your intrinsic worth as a child of God. A lack of soul consciousness puts your well-being at the mercy of your environment. You become the slave to the influences of the people and situations around you, feeling happy and good only when outside events warrant it. This kind of dependency leaves the soul weak and confused. And so this is the thing, is that when, you might ask the question, well, why do we become weak? If our original qualities are peace and strength and love and purity and power, then why is it that we ever become weak? But in fact, it's exactly this, that the influence from the outside, just the wear and tear, in a sense, the battery that gets used up, very simply. So there's nothing, it's not a question of the soul having done something wrong or bad, and that's why it's become weak. No, very simply, it's a question of just like everything goes through the laws of entropy, which is that they break down, wear out, fall apart, get consumed until a catalyst acts upon them and they go back to their original condition of fullness, of wholeness. And so it's exactly the same with the self, with the consciousness, is that we are, in a sense, originally, innately full. And then as we come into contact with matter, so as we have our human experience, little by little, our energy reduces. And so we're talking about not just the span of one lifetime, that according to this study, it's a little bit longer than that for not for all, but really it's an interesting thing to see how it's likely that our journey has been over a long time. And so where we're at now is that time to come back to our wholeness. You know? And so it's exactly this, that a lack of soul consciousness puts your well-being at the mercy of your environment. You become slaves to the influence of people and situations around you, feeling happy and good only when outside events warrant it. But this kind of dependency leaves the soul weak and confused. Soul consciousness, on the other hand, frees you from external influences, allowing you to create an inner well-being which is totally independent. Soul consciousness is cultivated through deliberate practice, and only those who have understood the need for this kind of true inner self-respect will make the effort. Difficulties will arise to test your resolve for self-upliftment. For example, physical illnesses, relationships, memories of the past, and so on. And yet, with patience and introspection, you will come to see how these very tests are the means to strengthen your spiritual identity. So this is what Dadi Janki has to say about this whole subject of self-awareness. So now we'll have a meditation, and I'm going to share some music. Okay, so take a deep breath and feel the energies of the body relaxing. The muscles becoming comfortable. Find that position where there is no tension anywhere in the body. And as I breathe naturally, I become fully present in the awareness of myself as a being of light, being of consciousness. Like that star sparkling in the center of the forehead, behind the eyes. I, the living being, am using my mind and my intellect I draw the energy of peace from the innate qualities that are present at the core of my being by simply remembering that my true nature is peace. I open the door to the river of peace, and it begins to flow into my mind. Like a deep memory that yes, who I am is a being of peace. Before anything ever happened, my true nature is that of beauty and wholeness, love, purity. And as I watch this river of peace flowing into my mind, generating feelings and vibrations that spread far and wide, my true identity is reinforced. And I stabilize the focus of my attention, my intellect, on this one stream of thought. I am peace. I am light. I am living consciousness. Take a deep breath. And I feel this refreshing energy of peace flowing with my breath to each part of the body. And very gently, when I'm ready, I guide my attention first to the center of my forehead. As I feel myself looking out through these eyes, noticing my surroundings, noticing how my hands feel, and gently I come into sound and movement through the instrument of my body. I stay connected to my true nature of peace.